I'll see if anybody joins. I'll wait a minute. To start out, I want to say um, today, like the last couple of days this week, I found news of arrests. And the news of these arrests makes me very excited because it has to do with human trafficking, which is what I found out is happening to me. Um, Up until like a week ago, I had zero clue what the definition of human trafficking was. I just know that I've been harassed like tremendously for years. Years. It's going on decades now, but not in the same manner. It's been probably 3 years of overt MK Ultra style harassment tactics. And it started back when I was at the law firm Lewis Brisbois, right before Jeff Rannon and John Barber exited. Um, so with whatever craziness that happened there, 150 people left the firm. I don't know if they got in trouble for something or what. But I do know I'm going to explain I was wrongfully terminated from Lewis Brisbois. I've explained that the reason I do not pursue litigation is because I signed an arbitration agreement, which means that wouldn't necessarily go in my favor, and I think it would be more detrimental than helpful to go after such a legal giant. But with this legal giant being so giant, and my knowledge of their history, um, there are some things that I would not put past them. I just have to remember to state facts. One of the facts was I was wrongfully terminated. I think it was August 20th of 2024. It could have been the 21st, August 20th or 21st. And then on the 21st or 22nd, Lewis Brisbois filed a lawsuit against a client of theirs for unpaid bills. And I've mentioned this before on a different video. The total of that lawsuit, coincidentally, wound up being just $5,000 shy of what my total payment was when they had cut my final check. While I was at Cox Castle, Nicholson, and Century City, I felt pressure to work overtime, but it was not ever necessary. Like I would be asked if I could work over the weekend, but I would always finish my work within the day that it was given to me. I very rarely ever had to work overtime unless it was like a special project or something that I was expecting that I needed to get done within the same day. So, towards the end of my stay at Cox Castle, I could sense they were trying to force the overtime to kind of lessen my amount of time there. It seemed very much like there was a set fee. And towards the end, as I got closer to the $85,000 from the Cushman Wakefield Lewis Brisbois lawsuit, as my salary started to get closer to that, I could feel the pressure of like, here, work this overtime. We need you to come in this weekend. But I would finish all my work, so it was unnecessary. So, because I increased productivity. So, it was very rare. I think they thought they were going to have enough work to force me to work a lot of overtime and that my time there was only going to be like 6 months or whatever. But I ended up staying there, able to work for about 10 months. During my 10 months there, I have not experienced management, at least one particular person with the education that she has and the knowledge that she possesses. Our interactions did not go how I had wanted. From the very beginning when I was hired, I could sense the doubt. And for the entire 10-month period, almost every interaction with her, I felt like, why did you hire me? If you do not have any confidence in me, why did you hire me? And what I now come to realize was that was a person trying to make me feel like I didn't have knowledge by saying things like, if you don't know, but I did know. I did know, which is why I did it that way. I was told I had created a macro. Macros are not easy to create. Macros like one step shy of computer programming. I created a macro that helped reduce the time that it took for me to get my work done. When I presented the macro, that I wanted other people to be able to use it, right? They could use it and improve upon it. But when I presented the macro to this particular person who wanted to make negative remarks on my employment record, I know that she couldn't use it because I had changed the directory. So even though I had provided it to her, instead of her telling me that she wasn't able to use it, she just said, "No, you can't use it." Almost expected, whatever. Um, but if she was wanting me to help improve the company's productivity, as I had, and I have examples, um, I made a pivot point, pivot table of the performance of the department before I was there and while I was there, and I helped speed up the process by a couple days. So I know that my work there was good despite whatever negative comments she wanted to make on my record. Um, Also, while at this firm, an email that I had sent to a client was intercepted, and uh, it was from an attorney, John Trott. John Trott Coxcackle Nicholson was on the email transmission, and within that email transmission, between like the client's accountant and our firm, somebody intercepted it and provided the client with fraudulent bank account numbers. So, if we're going to be talking about the possibility of human trafficking, what else is involved with human trafficking? Fraud, right? I have a juvenile record, which I've never expunged, so I've always left it there. I don't know if it just went away, but I'm able to pass background checks. I've worked in the finance department at law firms for 23 years. I have apprehended criminals. Back when I worked at Mammoth Mountain, I took down a ring of 8 criminals who used fraudulent tickets. They photocopied onto color copy paper that was of the wrong bond weight their tickets. Because of my history when I was younger getting in trouble, it made me a ward of the state. So this ties in to quite a few things. And then it's going to open it up for a bigger conspiracy. So, being a ward of the state, I've just done research on videos where they mention wards previously in histories past. Our UC systems participated in sterilizing people they saw unfit for reproduction. They called them feeble-minded people. As a ward of the court, California courts, my name appears on whatever list, and I believe from the time that I was 15, I've been tracked, right? They knew that I was smart. They knew that I had a juvenile record. So they've been tracking me and putting their criminal network into place at these jobs that I've had to set up a larger crime ring. Currently, my current position, first temporary position I've ever accepted in my life. I've been put in a position where I have to accept a temporary position because I was wrongfully terminated from 2 jobs. I need a job. This is forced labor. Um, I found connections, right? Between all of my employers, I found things that connect them almost like to, I can name people, but I want to talk to a lawyer first. Pretty much every job I've had since, every law firm job I've had since high school, since I was made a ward of the court, goes back to, it goes back to like hazing and harassment in my hometown. So I have been targeted since I was a kid up until today. I'm watching crime rings get put away. I'm not in fear for my life. While I may be, it may be at risk, I'm not at fear for it because I think I have one leg up on these people. They've spent the last 6 years putting all these little pieces into place to try to make me look crazy. I'm still here. I've done all my research. YouTube has been a lifesaver. I found out things like MK Ultra tactics that they've been using to further make it look like I'm crazy. Like, think about, while they may not be administering LSD, I don't know for sure because they use some kind of aerosol spray in the hallway. They didn't spray it today. They haven't sprayed it since I turned the location services off on my phone. I keep my phone wrapped in a Faraday, like a silver lined towel, as I enter and exit the building so that my device doesn't come into contact with any of their devices, because I'm damn certain that these people who keep forcing themselves on me are part of this crime ring, and they're trying to make me an associate of theirs. These people who keep uh, trying to be my friend in the hallway, but at the same time, I'll watch them have freakouts outside because I smiled at them. It's the make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. How can you hate someone so bad that you're trying so hard to get next to? That's impossible. When I think of myself, there's a girl at my current job that is like a shadow, where if I go to lunch, she goes to lunch. Quite literally, I will turn around and she steps behind me, and it's happened on more than a handful of occasions. Today was one of them. So today, when I left work, I had to like run out the building because right as I'm leaving, she's leaving exact same time. I don't want to ride the elevator with her. I don't want to make small conversation. I don't want our cell devices to have the same location. Um, she works in the office right next to me, so I don't know what she's doing while she's in the office. I don't really have any work to do with her, so I don't understand like the forced communication, right? And like, I think maybe she's just like, oh, I think you're really nice or whatever. But still, I think I've made it clear, like, I don't want to make conversation, yet I still feel like I'm being followed. And what that does, it kind of dictates where I go next, right? They think that by having her so close to me, they're going to make me do something. I do what I want, right? I will turn around and walk back to the office because she makes me uncomfortable. Does that ruin my day? No. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to put something on the internet to talk about the incident that I had that's unusual, that's abnormal. I am a 42-year-old woman, self-diagnosed autistic ADHD, but I'm starting to realize a lot of things in my life make sense. Like, I didn't know about the autistic person's frontal lobes not fully developed until they're 35. And that makes so much sense because up until I was 35, I thought I was going to die at 35. I thought that my life, things as it got closer, like everything was so hard up until I was 35. And then at 35, I was like, fuck all this shit. I'm just living. It's the world. What this is people who have known that I've had this learning disability, but it's not a learning disability because I was in GATE, twice exceptional. So it's a learning disability that's masked by a high IQ. And because people don't understand what autism is, they think that all autistic people are stupid, which is why they thought this was going to be so easy to do this to me. So there's a couple of things I can't figure out if it's like gate targeting or just people knowing that I'm an idiot, but I'm smart, but I'm an idiot targeting. But either way, what it has caused in the way of what I believe is human trafficking is when I have worked at my previous employers, whenever they've made me feel like I was going to be terminated, it always forced me to work as hard as I possibly could. So hard that there were days where I refused to go to the bathroom because I wanted to get things done. I know that people are around me stalking me. When I was at Lewis Brisbois, there was the whole New Matters department that used to talk about my smell as I would come in and out of the bathroom. And now I don't even know if that's true. For a while, I believed it. They had me believing I was doing everything I possibly could to not have an odor. But now I think that is part of the human trafficking. Because if they can control my use of the bathroom, that's controlling me. Human trafficking is controlling somebody. So they controlled. When I was there, I got frequent urinary tract infections because I didn't want to walk past them to go to the bathroom. When I finally went to go on my short-term disability, I was prescribed UTI medicine, which somebody canceled. Why would I cancel a prescription that's necessary to fix a problem? Somebody called in to the La Brea Target Pharmacy and canceled that prescription. Human trafficking. In addition to that, I had mentioned like the firing when I got terminated from Lewis Brisbois. They sued Cushman Wakefield, which was one of their clients, for I don't know if it was $86,000 or $85,000. My total compensation on my last day, my final paycheck said that I had been compensated something like $80,400 for the 10 months that I worked at Cox Castle. So that's what it's like $5,000, $4,500 or $5,000 short of what the lawsuit between Lewis Brisbois and Cushman Wakefield was. Supposedly, this network, the AI Stalker Network, is a buy-in for like $5,000. So I don't know how much of that is true, but if I'm thinking about the money, it's a possibility. And then the other thing is, I think about like, well, who's getting the money or how would it possibly work? So let's think about it. If Lewis Brisbois sues a client that they know wasn't going to pay the bill, or it's like just part of their agreement or whatever. So what happens in that? If the client wins, Lewis Brisbois just writes it off as bad debt, right? They don't get anything. And then the client doesn't have to pay the $86,000 that they owe Lewis Brisbois to Lewis Brisbois. Instead, they may have used it to pay Cox Castle. And then in turn, that money from the bad debt that Lewis Brisbois washed out and the payment that instead of going to Lewis Brisbois now went to Cox Castle, who in that situation would be my owner? Cushman Wakefield would be my owner, right? So I'm currently at a firm and I've seen that name come up, but I don't know if it's tied to any of the stuff that has to do with me. But while I was at Cox Castle, the coincidence was way too much. In the grand scheme of things, how would a law firm human traffic somebody and get away with it? You tell me. What does that say? Oh, let me read these comments because I stopped reading comments until the end because a lot of people come on here to try to distract me. Were you ever discouraged? I try so hard not to be at work. No, I'm not discouraged. I'm not discouraged because I work really hard. I work hard to keep my mind off of all the other things that I want to do. I have a million hobbies. I don't know if you see all this shit around me. I like a lot of art stuff, colors, right? This goes into like autism. I like pens. I like pens for the colors. You see pens? I have all the colors of the fucking pens that I like, even if I only use one. So my mind is always busy. I will always have something to do. So them harassing me just gives me one more thing to talk about. If it were not for this years-long harassment and human trafficking and these people thinking that they can make me look crazy, I really wouldn't have anything to do. I'd probably be so bored that I would go out and get in trouble. But I'm not. I have so much yarn. I have so much fabric. There will never be a dull day in my life, especially with being harassed. My brain is creative. I'm not criminal. I have no reason to steal money from people. I have no reason, zero reason. I don't mind living like a bum. I wouldn't mind being homeless if that were to be the case because I understand my situation and I understand that the more I continue to talk about it, it may not get better. But fingers crossed, these people on the news are not just acting. Rob Bonta, Nathan Hochman. I had written to Nathan Hochman, however you say it. And then within a couple weeks, he has managed to at least make it a visual on the media. It doesn't matter if that was a setup takedown, right? Like the guy turned himself in. That means he doesn't want the rest of the network to go down. He's trying to take the heat off of someone else. So I don't know how much of this is set up to protect a larger network because based off of what I'm saying, there's a lot of people in Los Angeles who are involved in this that don't want you to know, which is why they're doing what they're doing to me. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And then judging by the number of people that jumped on and then jumped off, They really want to know what I'm talking about, but they're going to wait until this video gets posted as public. Um, it's funny. It's really funny. It's not funny. It's so serious. What's funny to me is that I had zero clue about what human trafficking was. I had no clue that you could human traffic an American citizen in America at a job that they legitimately got. I had no idea that um, firms can conspire as to where a person goes, right? So I didn't want to work out in Century City because it takes longer. It's like 30 minutes longer of a commute to get out to Century City. I was fine working in crazy ass downtown LA because I just took the red line, right? Always knew I could get there quick. Even though the red line's crazy, didn't bother me. I took the job in Century City simply because it paid a good amount of money. And while I was there, all I could think of was, this is not enough work for you guys to justify paying me this much. You could pay me $10,000 or $15,000 less. You could pay a high school graduate. You could pay a college person $20,000 less, and you would get the same work done. Right? You're paying me this much, so I have to get it done faster, and that's what I did. And that's human trafficking. They made it so that I had to ride the bus, right? Because if I was going downtown, I ride the train. My time that I go there is unpredictable because the train's like every 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, so many cars. With the bus, they can control it a little bit more. So, like, they can have someone waiting at the bus stop before I go out to my bus. And when one of these residents who's always out front that's reporting my location puts on the little app, she's on the bus, that other person, or she's waiting for the bus, so the person who's at the stop before me will get on, and boom, now you have human trafficker mind control all in one, all the way out to Century City. And I can't do anything about it because I'm stuck on a bus for an hour and a half with people who are keywording me to death as I go there. So do you see how this works? So this is what I want to make sure that the authorities get a hold of and do a thorough investigation, because a lot of the thoughts in my head are not even my own thoughts at this point, based off of the technologies that they're using. I have like a journal entry where I was writing. I'm usually able to write freely and it flows. And I don't have problems with I'm not dyslexic, and I don't have problems with spelling or writing words like letters in order. My writing usually flows. There was one day when I was writing and it's like every other word, and I don't know if it has something to do with the iPhone and the remote neural thing, but I'll figure it out. I will. But I remember as I was writing, uh, somebody else was controlling what I was writing. And what I mean by that is, I would write and then I would get to a point where I would want to write a word, and then it was like autocorrect was forcing me to write something else. So I really don't know how they are able to do that, if that's through the brainwaves. But I do know that if I wrap my phone back up in that little silver blanket, I can write freely again. So Apple's iPhone is iPhone 16. Oh, and that was another thing that I feel like I was trafficked into, because I had just paid off my 15. And I wasn't going to get a 16, but because they made it seem like somebody wanted to steal my phone number, I wanted to lock it back down to the carrier's network. So I upgraded to a 16. Little did I know the 16 is the fucking one that they wanted me to have so they can control me. I don't care to use a cell phone at all. So my cell phone is almost always going to be wrapped up on airplane mode, no location. I don't use a cell phone. Might as well have a pager. I have an Apple Watch. I take phone calls on my watch. If the calls don't come through, they don't come through. Or at least I can make a call out. It's very much like having a pager, except for I don't even get the messages anymore now. So I still have the ability to call out if I need to. And supposedly calls are supposed to come in, or messages are still supposed to come in, but I don't think they are. Which may have something to do with like my phone being hacked, tracked, stacked, whatever. So even when they're not harassing me, I'm still working on catching them and putting them in jail. And I think We're going to leave it there with names of key players. There's still one I haven't named yet, because I think that they have a bigger involvement. And then I'm still like, I'm, s- I don't know how many people out there. Like, I've never worked a temp job before, ever. This is my first one. And I wouldn't have accepted it if I didn't need a fucking job, right? I would not have accepted it. But they're paying enough for me to accept, but not enough for me to live. Like, I need the money I was making at the last job. I need to be back on the track that I was at my job before that. So the more these people think, like, they thought this place thought they were going to end me. That's why they've kept me as a temporary employee. Because 2 months ago, when I started to look for a job again, I got a call from the temporary place that's asked me, how much am I looking for? And I told them $90,000 a year, because I can make that much. I deserve that much based on my skill, very much, easily. And I had explained to her, I don't know if this is the right place. Like, maybe they can afford it, but I don't know if they have enough work to justify paying me that much. Very similar to what it was like at Cox Castle. So I don't know if that's why they're not paying me more, or they're not hiring me yet. But what I do know is the position, I switched positions. I'm temping in a different position now. And the position that I've taken over, I've worked there longer than the permanent hire that they had before me. The permanent hire they had before me started at the same time, but she only lasted a couple weeks, month maybe. And I've been doing her job now ever since with no offer. And then on top of now doing that job for 2 months with no offer, on the Friday before Martin Luther King Day, the firm received an email stating Monday is a holiday. Monday's a holiday. Yay. Monday's a holiday. I don't have to work. Great. Everybody else got paid for that holiday. Majority of those people are not black. I think there's one black person there, maybe two. The people there are not black. So it was very offensive to me that, even though I appreciate getting the day off, I had been paid for and this sounds like, oh, just be thankful that you got paid. If I would have accepted a permanent position somewhere, I would have gotten paid. I would have benefits by now. I would be back to living a normal life. But right now I'm held in a purgatory because they think that through their MK Ultra style harassment, they're going to put me in a halfway house before they give me a job. No, not at all. With what I saw today, they're coming for you. And if they're not coming for you, they're doing performative measures for the television so that maybe I shut the fuck up. But I'm not going to shut up until I see people's mugshots. So either hire me, fire me, or let me see your mugshot.